We spend so much time at work. I always quote, it's 1/3 of your waking hours. And students go, wait, drop the mic on that. That's a lot of time. It's more time than I spend with my loved ones. Finding mentors who support you, coworkers who can lift you up, and environments that are not toxic is critical. So don't forget to build what I call your personal board of directors for life. Those would be mentors who celebrate your wins and guide you through challenges.
Welcome back to the show, friends. Today we're tackling a big but exciting topic, professional development. Before you groan and say that you're just trying to survive your classes and finish your dissertation, let me reassure you. This conversation is going to be practical, encouraging, and maybe even a bit fun. So let's dive in. First, we have performance reviews. Now, I've never had a performance review, Marcy. What are they and why should I care?
That is a great question. And listener, you will have performance reviews the rest of your life unless you are on the board of directors of your own company, because even the CEO gets reviewed by the board members. And that is a chance for you to get some input on how you're doing. So Luka, you're my podcast editor. I can't believe that I haven't done a performance review on you yet.
It's going to be terrible. I'm going to get all the bad news.
I just inflated your ego before this recording started and told you you are the best podcast editor I've ever had. So I try to give feedback as a supervisor throughout with my employees. Some employers will do that. Some bosses will do that. They'll tell you immediately if there's something that you need to improve on or if there's something you need to do well. But there are typically a couple of scheduled times where companies, nonprofits, universities will say it's the due date for the form that you have to complete, and maybe you have to score people almost like you get grades when you're in college, and maybe it is comments that you give and then you turn into human resources so that there is a recording, a record of how that person is doing. And I will tell you this, that as a supervisor, and I have had probably 6 or 7 supervisors in my career, it is the least favorite thing to do is do a performance review. You might say, wait, I would say firing someone would be way worse than that, and that's not a fun thing to do. But performance reviews are tough because if you have an all-star performer that's doing a great job, all of your energy gets sucked into the performance problems, and you're over here dealing with putting out the fire. So as the employee, what I would tell you as a student right now is to track all of your accomplishments and your goals, because when you go into the review, you will make your boss's life so much easier if you tell them what you know are your big wins and where you need to improve, because you know yourself the best. And right now, probably your advisor is your boss. If you don't have an actual boss in a job that you have, they set the expectations, they provide the funding, they give the feedback. And thinking about these reviews early helps you set your goals, like maybe finishing your degree and a long-term goal, perhaps of your dream job. So it's practice for what will come when you are done being a student and you're a professional. That's why we're talking about professional development.
Yeah, it's always so important to know your own strengths and weaknesses, and also in that kind of situation to understand that the other end of a performance review is another human.
Yeah, absolutely. So just remember that they're dreading it as much as you are, because you wake up that morning and you go at breakfast to your loved one, oh my gosh, I've got my performance appraisal today. And you think, I'm probably going to get bad grades, and we're our worst critics. And then the other person is saying to their loved one at breakfast, oh, today's the day I have to do all my performance reviews, and they're dreading it. So it's not like as bad as going to the dentist, but it's pretty down there.
Hey, maybe I like going to the dentist, Marcy.
I hope so.
Now, I would say maybe I would make it a goal of mine to make the performance reviews as painless as possible. Now, what other kinds of goals are there? I've heard of short-term and long-term goals, but really, what's the difference and what do you have to keep in mind when making those types of goals?
And these reviews tie in perfectly to goals because as a student, I'm going to put you in the hot seat in a second, Luka, and say, what is something short-term you want to accomplish? And when I say a short-term goal, I mean within one semester, because that's how you live your life is by the academic calendar. For a grad student, it might be passing a qualifying exam, submitting a paper, and then long-term, I use 5 years. So that seems like forever when you're still a college student, a grad student. Well, I have no idea what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, let alone what I'll be doing in 5 years. But it's helpful for you to craft the goal and to tweak it as you go. So maybe you want to lead your own lab, you want to be an industry designer of new products. Both of these things help you keep the light at the end of the tunnel in sight, even when it feels endless, like right now, because I know it's a tough time of the semester for you. So is there something you can think of that you want to accomplish in one semester?
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a little bit on the time management episode about how this semester I've written down all of the big goals that I have to accomplish throughout the semester. So I would say those are all some short-term goals. But outside of those goals, a big one of mine that I've been trying to do this semester, which has been a bit of a headache, is trying to study abroad for next semester. I've been applying to Hong Kong Polytechnic University, which is a big dream of mine to find new places to live and to experience.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Luka, because that is fantastic that you are taking advantage of all the resources. Because when else would you be able to go to Hong Kong and taste the food and enjoy the culture and see new sites, as well as learn and advance towards your career? So maybe in our show notes, we can link up to the Study Abroad website for others who feel intimidated by that and realize that they can apply too. Getting back to our performance reviews, that's what we're supposed to be talking about. I was curious too if we could jump into something on relationship building.
Absolutely. Well, what is relationship building, first of all?
It is the chance for you to connect with other people that you are surrounded by in your life. As a student, it might be your faculty members, your peers. It might be a coach that you have for an intramural sport or an advisor for a club. Or if you are doing an internship or a co-op, it could be your supervisor. And because we spend so much time at work, I always quote, it's 1/3 of your waking hours. And students go, wait, drop the mic on that. That's a lot of time. It's more time than I spend with my loved ones. Finding mentors who support you, coworkers who can lift you up, and environments that are not toxic is critical because there are a lot of toxic cultures out there that you do not want to be sucked into. It will destroy you and your soul will not feel happy. So don't forget to build what I call your personal board of directors for life. Those would be mentors who celebrate your wins and guide you through challenges.
That's really interesting. And I hear a lot of those same type of concepts when we talk about networking as well, about building a net of people that you can rely on to try and get to positions that you can be happy in. So how does networking build into building a relationship?
I know networking is a word that sometimes freaks people out. They think, oh, I'm going to be schmoozing and it has to be icky. Like I'm trying to convince them that they have to hire me for something and people are too busy to talk to me. But honestly, networking is something that we've all done. And I just flipped the script on that. I don't even use that word as much, even though I know we did an episode on that, which I really liked. But I just say building relationships while you are a student will impact you in a positive way. Going to conferences and doing internships, and all of these are chances for you to leave your mark. For example, when you leave this internship as a podcast editor, I will remember you, and I will remember that you were the first podcast editor I had who said, I'm happy to ask you questions when I didn't even expect you to have that interest. So that's what I mean by relationship building.
And relationship building, internship, study abroad, it's a lot going on all at once. How does a student decide what's the best to go with?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you feel overwhelmed when you listen to these episodes and you think, oh, I'm behind. But just start with your short-term goal. Maybe you want to grow your research profile. Then say yes when your PI asks for volunteers on a project. If you're considering industry, an internship might be golden for you. Certificates and workshops, those are like sprinkles, like rainbow sprinkles on your resume cupcake. The key is choose opportunities that align with where you're headed and say no to the ones that do not serve you.
And I'm wondering, how can performance reviews kind of factor into that? How can you take the advice or feedback from performance reviews and shape that decision making?
Right. So at the end of your performance review or even during it, hopefully you're going to be talking about professional development ideas you have for yourself, skills that you want to improve, competencies that you know need enhancing. And in that conversation, maybe there are mentors out there that are really good at that you can reach out to, that you can shadow, and you can learn a little bit from those experts.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your help in this because I know you've reached out to some experts in the field, such as Devin Hubbard, a podcast host and a guest that we've had on the show recently, to help me build out my net of skills, my editing skills as well.
There's so many people out there that love to teach. And honestly, when you ask someone for advice, they are excited to share it. Like if someone came to you and said, how did you become a junior in College of Engineering at NC State? You kind of puff your chest out and want to give some tips because it makes you feel good.
And I think that also helps with networking as well, to just keep that in mind. People want to talk about what they're good at and what they study. So always remember the person on the other side, whether it's a performance review or networking. In networking, they're excited to share what they know. In performance reviews, maybe they're not as evil or as higher up as you might expect them to be. After all, everyone is human. So let's get to our final topic of today, Marcy, which is values. Why do they matter when it comes to professional development?
I feel like in each of these Courage Corner episodes, we touch on values because they are that golden thread throughout all of these topics that we're hitting on. It's your foundation. If your career doesn't align with what you truly care about, then the whole structure can crumble. And research shows that we all share 12 core values. And those can be something that could be either intrinsic or extrinsic. So when I say an intrinsic value, I mean something like personal growth, professional growth, meaning, and contribution. And then we have the extrinsic ones, which are things like your title, how much prestige you have, the recognition you get, your salary. They both matter, but leaning too heavily on the extrinsic values can harm your well-being. And that means that you're focused only on posting something on social media that you got this award, and you just want to see that people have acknowledged you got it, versus you got the award because you really cared about learning and growing, and being recognized is just a bonus for you. So the real magic is building a career where your goals reflect both your paycheck and your purpose.
I think I heard from somewhere as well that if you're doing something just for other people to acknowledge that you've done it, it might not be something worth doing. It might not align with your values quite as much as something else might be if you're doing something for yourself.
I totally agree with that. That's why I like to end it with the paycheck and purpose. Thanks for tuning in, friends. Remember, you are the CEO of your life, and professional development, which is my title, Director of Professional Development, it is the strategy that helps you lead well. So until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and go Wolfpack.